Hey guys, my name is Nikolai Poznikov, and I think it's about time I record a video that shows one of my applications called EDD-Tools. EDD-Tools is an application to help extend some of the functionality of LAW and Concordance, as well as it has some utilities that would help you with some general tasks such as file listings or converting range of documents into a list should you need to take documents on the page level. So let's get started. To start EDD-Tools, you can go to Start menu and launch from there, or you can double click on an icon on your desktop. When you start EDD-Tools, first thing it's going to do is ask you which database you want to use. Now you can use LAW database, or for some tools you can use a generic SQL database. If you're using a generic SQL database, or even if you're using a LAW database, you can put your server name here, click on Get Databases, and this drop-down list will be populated with databases that exist on the server. You can also enter username and password. If you want, you can also use LAW's project I9 file to connect to the right database. So you can click on three dots, select project.i9, which is located in your project folder, and all this information will be populated for you. Once you click OK, you will be in this project. Now EDD-Tools has a number of features, so I will try to show you as much as I can, but I will have to talk about a lot of them since I don't have time to make such a long video as to demonstrate every single feature here. So let's get started. What I'm going to do to show you the effects of some of the tools, I will use SQL database, which is going to give you the same view as if you were looking at the grid view in LAW. So this will be the database. This is an nrun data that I have loaded previously. I believe this data has been manipulated before by somebody, so it's not in a perfect shape. I see that some of the conversation indexes are broken, but I don't think it's going to interfere with what we need to do. First section we have here is LAW tools. These are the tools that are designed specifically for LAW and will only work on a database that's been created by LAW. First tool we have here is a sort date creator. As everybody knows, sort date is a very important field that requires for sorting your documents in chronological order. If you were to just sort documents by date sent, the documents would go out of order, so this field will allow you to handle the sort date. The advantage of this tool is that it doesn't just use one field like many scripts do. It uses a hierarchy of different dates, and you can actually customize this. So if the date sent is present, this is the date that will be used for that document and its attachments. Should that date not be there because the document was never sent, it'll go to the date received, such as for draft emails. If it's a calendar item or appointment, date app start will be used, and if it's an eDoc, I use last modified, and so on. And it will just take the date of the parent and apply it to all the children, as you can see here. Next is load QC access database query. So this is one of the tools that I designed to help me QC my import sessions in LAW. When you look at your session list, you can only look at one session at a time, and it's really hard to compare sessions to one another. For example, if you did 15 different imports and one of the imports were done in the incorrect time zone, it would be really hard to spot the difference. This tool helps you see all the sessions in the grid view and see all the relevant information going across in one row. It's a little bit of an advanced tool. Play around with it, but if you do want to take advantage of it, you can send me an email and I'll be happy to guide you through more detailed steps on how to use it. Load QC Pst Scan. It's another tool that's designed to confirm that the contents of a PST was in fact loaded into LAW. it will you simply specify the path to your PST file, and it will scan every entry ID inside the PST file and make sure it is in the law project. And if it's not there, it will be exported out as an MSG file, so you could reload it back in. This is one of the ways you can fix incomplete loading errors in law, so you don't have to reload the entire PST again, or you could extract any erroneous items that law is crashing on. Project Snapshot. This is a great way of getting a quick idea of what's in your law case. So it'll quickly tally your documents by OCR status. It'll tell you how many documents there are, how many emails and attachments, what everything was indexed or ready to be indexed, if there are any documents missing native files, how many duplicates you have. It'll give you file sizes for emails, for attachments, all together. It can give you some of the date range information and so on. If you have a live case, you can actually schedule this information to be emailed to you at certain time intervals. So if you have other people working on the case, you could see how the document is being added or TIFFed, and you will see the counts changing on every email that you get. Image merger is a tool that I created that has since been replaced by Law's import replacement load file. This is what I've used to load redacted images into Law. What you do is you import documents with a duplicate ID. It could be any ID, doc ID or back doc. And what image merger will do, it will keep the metadata and native file for the first occurrence of that duplicate, and it will take the image that was loaded the second time and it will delete that instance. So essentially it will replace redacted images in your law case. Family range updater and family range updater 2. So what often happens is you get data that's been processed outside of law, and you want to use the data in law. And one of the biggest issues is family relationships. Law doesn't use bag attach and attach. It uses attach level and attach PID to keep track of them. So these two tools will help you reset that information based on the DAT file. The first family range updater is a very thorough utility, but it turned out to be a little bit more complicated than I wanted it to be, and I created a simplified version, which is family range updater 2. And all you have to do is load your bag attach field into any field in law, select that from the list, and run it. The first instance of document within the bag attach range will become a parent, and all the others will be in attachments. So it's important that your documents loaded in the right order. Image record cleaner will just simply delete pointers to images. Helpful when you have accidentally TIFFed very, very large Excels with 20,000 or more pages, and anytime you try to access the record or delete documents or even just re-TIFF with placeholder, it just keeps crashing law. So this will just delete pointers to the images, not the images themselves, but it will let you override those documents. Renumber with Suffix is a tool to number documents such as exhibits, where you specify a starting almost like a doc ID or exhibit number, and then it increments every page sequentially within. There are formulas in law to do the same. I think this is a little bit easier. Restrict search results is a tool that would limit your search report to just a certain tag. The way this would work is you would perform a search on the bottom here, saying, let's say, rather than batch station, this could be export volume, and we'll say volume 1. And if you hit the apply button, this will set the this would run the search, but I'm not going to do that because I don't have this field. And then once you run this, your searches MDB will be restricted to only the documents in this export volume. So when you go back into LAW, into the search tool, and you export the HTML version of your search report, it will only reflect documents in this tag. Parent to attach, it's pretty simple. Any kind of information you have on the parent level will be pushed down to all of its attachments. Useful for many different things that you might do for fixing things. You can do a simple sort date if you'd like, but there are many uses for this. Alright, conversation family is and conversation level. So this lets you generate a field that you can group all your documents within the conversation. This is similar to what Clearwell is doing, and relativity. And the conversation level is actually a numeric field that you can use to see how deep the item is in the conversation, which is similar to indentations that you see in relativity conversation level view. So this will give you the same thing, but rather than being visual with indentations, you can export this out to Concordance, and you can sort by conversation level, so you'll see your fields in numerical order as the conversation happens. Generate volume names. If you have a large set of data to export, you can generate a field called export volume, or you can call it anything you want, and you can control if you want to export it by page count or by file size. And once you generate a field, you can search for that volume on multiple stations, and you can perform multiple exports at the same time. This makes it easier to break up data set across multiple stations. Load linked values to table doc is a tool to load data that's stored in a table that is not the main loss table. As you know, if you copy a custodian name field from one column to another, you will get an ID value, not the actual value. So this is a way of extracting any value that's stored in a linked table, such as custodian name, body of an email, original file name, and so on, and storing it in a table doc. I don't recommend actually copying body into the table doc, but some people do that, which is okay to do in the small cases. Generate saved search query. So if you have a list of names that you want to search, and you want to search in from to CC BCC fields, if you're going to build that query in LAW, it'll take you a pretty long time to do. Here you can just select the field you want to search in, and you can choose your connector, and then once you click go, this will save out a query file that you need to save it in the right folder in your LAW case, and then it'll just show up as one of the saved searches, and then the whole search is going to be pre-built for you. So very helpful when you have to search for names in all the metadata fields, and you can load all those names from a file. Import native files. This will let you take a native file and just load into an existing record in LAW. So if the data has been processed outside of your environment, this is an easy way of adding those native files in. If you're looking to do some kind of batch files and you want to export data out of LAW by means of a batch file, like a copy command, you can generate a path to the extracted text as it exists in LAW, or CR text printed, or where the native file exists in LAW. So it's not too hard to figure out where it is. and if you know the system how LAW stores it, this just makes it easier for you, and you can see it right there in LAW where your files are actually stored. Domain parsing, this is something that will scan from to CC or whichever fields you choose, and it'll save it into a field. So let me show you an example of that. So I can just scroll down a little bit. So you see how it just parses out emails and extracts all the domain names, and it will only save one copy of the domain. And once you export this out, you can tally on it in Concordance. Make sure you use a semicolon as your multi-entry delimiter, and it will tally up all the domains for you. Load search hits. This helps you load the search terms into a field in LAW, so that when you review, or your review team does a review, they know what term the document hits on. If you'd like to generate attachments, back attach, end attach, and so on, LAW can do it on the fly for you, but it doesn't actually get saved. If you want it to be saved in separate fields, you can use this tool to have your back attach, end attach, parent IDs, and so on to be hard-coded in your main table. Of course, if you add or delete documents, these changes will not be reflected, and you would have to rerun this. Integrate with LAW. This lets you start EDD-Tools right within LAW, so you would go to Tools and run command, and EDD-Tools will appear there. Just follow these instructions on the screen. And this is the new feature I'm working on, Find Problem Documents. It's a way of scanning your LAW case and figuring out in a plain English what action has to be taken with particular record. So it's actually a beta feature that's coming up soon, but this is what it would look like. So we have a PDF file that's missing extracted text, OCR required. We have an image type file, also OCR required, and so on. So it will tell you what actions have to be taken on a particular document. And there are a number of criteria and different logic that happens behind the scenes. That controls all the actions. If you have other suggestions on what else could be added here, I am be interested in hearing that. Alright, so now we can move to Sql tools. These are the tools that are generic in a way that don't require database, certain database structure. So you can run them on any SQL database, so you could theoretically use it with other processing tools. Field editor is just a simple way of working with fields. You can take one field, put dash another field, and they'll be combined into some other third field. You could perform search and replace, or you could format them using different masks, and all that happens on the fly. So LAW can do some of these things. This has some advantages, some disadvantages. Try it out, see if you like it. Batch updater. This will just update a certain value in a certain field with just one value. So if you want to say in table page, we want to set a footer to 50, so we could remove an old endorsement. We could just hit go, and it will update the entire table with that value. So when you run endorse again with blank value, this will clear all endorsements out. Be careful what you type on here at the bottom, because these are your filters, and you have to specify fields that actually exist in a table page, not table doc. and this does it in one SQL query, so it's much faster, but there is a possibility of a timeout if you have a large database or if there are other people locked in the database. Tagless Loader, it's similar to what LAW already has, where you can just take a file with doc IDs and update all the documents to a certain value. But the advantage here is you don't have to load it just to the main table. You could tag documents on the page level or on the custodian level. You could type in any table name here. So this is open. This is not restricted to structure of a LAW database. MD5 hash generation. This is for people who want to use their own custom deduplication. So you can choose fields you want on the left, and you can choose which field to write this to, and this will generate a custom MD5 hash value, using which you can go back to LAW and rerun the duplication again, and it will use the new hash value generated to perform the duplication. This works well for emails, since email deduplication is based on metadata. I don't recommend you running this on attachments. So the search criteria would be attach level equals to 0, and then you would hit apply, and you confirm the count of your emails, and then you run this tool. Time zone converter. This helps you convert date and time from one time zone to another. This is not a substitute for processing data in the right time zone to begin with, but if you happen to be process data in one, you can create an additional field of what date and time would look like in the other time zone, and this will account for daylight savings time, which makes it so much better, since without this you can't just do a math plus an hour minus an hour plus 5 and so on. So this will actually account for daylight savings time. And time zone offset calculator. This is a good tool to use for relativity when you process data as MSGs, because the time zone offset is one of the fields that relativity requires. And let me show you an example of that. So this will give you what the offset for the time zone is. So here it's -4 because this is the daylight savings time, and if we scroll down to other documents, you'll see it's -5 because daylight savings time is not in effect. So this will account for that. Alright, next we have some tools that I created for concordance. First one is create review batches. So if you have a number of reviewers and you need to create tags for them to help them review, you can create something called a get file, which you would load into Concordance with a tag saver CPL. So first you would select your field that is your key field, such as doc ID for native reviewer. If it's a TIFF review, would be a backdoc number. You can choose what folder do you want your review batches to be in, starting number, and how many documents per batch. So we can do maybe 5,000, and we choose where we're going to save this, what's called a get file. Once you click go, you'll save that file. You copy it into your Concordance folder, and then you load it using tag saver CPL, like I said, and this will automatically create tags for you in Concordance. Find family CPL replacement. It's an alternative way of finding families in Concordance. It's a little bit better than CPL, but different people will have different preferences. So what you would do here is you would take a backdoc number, backdoc and bagattach, and you export them to a text file with header row and commas and quotes around all the values, and you use that as an input, and as the output it will generate the QRY file, which you will load as a saved search in Concordance, and that will bring in all the family members. Grk Viewer is a viewer for your tags. It's often helpful to look at the tag file, see what's going on there. If you have any out values there. If something is corrupt, you can open it with this. You can copy and paste this into Excel, analyze it, look at it, do a lot of things. And the next concordance utility is for Fyi. So if you have a large installation of Fyi and you have a lot of databases, matters, clients, it's often hard to manage those using tools like the Fyi Management Console. So you can use this to load your Fyi.db, and be sure to make a copy of it first. You can load a copy in here, and you can view it, sort it. You can look at the different database matters and so on. And again, you can copy this into Excel, which will give you even more features and help you manage your host environment. Text tools, we have a convert range to list. This utility will take a range of documents and like so, and it will generate a list of all the numbers in between. This will help you if you need to find documents that could have been number given to you on a page level, and you need to find that document. A file splitter will take a load file like an LFP and OPT and just break it up by a certain number of lines. So you can specify how many lines here. You can also specify a trigger line where to start a new file. This works best for image load files such as LFPs and OPTs, and doesn't always work well on the DAT files because they tend to contain a Unicode character and other odd characters. But it works fine on most of the text files. And OCR LFP to text file. This will scan an OCR LFP and it will pull out all the text and it will save it into individual text files. This is if you don't have an OCR text and you don't want to re-OCR the documents, but you happen to have an OCR LFP and you just want to pull out whatever's there. This will do it for you. File tools, you have a directory list maker. Simple tool, you just specify a path of what do you want to make a directory list of and where do you want to output the results to. This will scan through the folders and give you a dir list with the file path, name, size, all the basic stuff. And a screenshot utility. If you have a lot of law stations, you can point this utility will save the screenshots at certain time intervals. So you would just point this to a network location, set how often you want a screenshot of that station taken, and start it. And you obviously would minimize it. And then after you get it running all the stations, you would go to this section here and you would generate an HTML file for all those screenshots. And then you can set like a security guard watching multiple screenshots of multiple screens all on your screen, so you can see what's going on all your stations. Alright, that is it. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. Thank you for watching.